Welcome back to the channel, guys. Well, today I'm riding something a little bit special. This is the first ride of the Triumph Daytona 660. Yes, that's right, the Daytona, it's back. The sports bike, the Daytona, it's back. So settle yourselves down, make yourself comfortable, and Chopsy, roll the intro. The Triumph Daytona. Britain's shot at proving that occasionally we can build a fast motorcycle that doesn't shake itself to bits or leak oil on the driveway. It began in the early 90s with the Daytona 750 and the 1000. Big, heavy things that were more gentleman's express than razor-edged racers. By 93 we got the Daytona 900, still hefty, but now with enough poke to make the Japanese nervous. Then came the star of the show, the Daytona 955i. This was back in the late 90s. Sleek, fuel injected, and finally a British superbike you could say with a straight face was a rival to an R1 or a Fireblade. But the real legend was the Daytona 675, launched in 2006. A middleweight triple that was light, precise, and charismatic enough to dominate in the supersport class. It won races, trophies, and the hearts of anyone who rode it. For a while, it was the best bike in its class, period. Then, as the supersport slowly went out of fashion, the Daytona name faded into the background. Apart from the odd Moto 2 special, Triumph let it rest. Until now. Enter the new Daytona 660. Not a fire-breathing superbike, but a clever, road-focused sports machine. Triple engine, sharp handling, modern electronics, a Daytona built for the real world, not just the racetrack. More everyday, less race replica, but still carrying that legendary name. So from brawny superbikes to scalpel-like 600s, and now this 660, the Daytona has always been about one thing, keeping British sports bikes in the fight. And with this one, Triumph might have just pulled it off again. Let's see. So yes, the new Daytona may not be the Daytona everyone was looking forward to, but that's not to say it's still not going to be a fantastic motorcycle. So let's don the gear and let's jump aboard. So I have in the past ridden the Trident 660, which of course this platform is built on the Trident 660, but Triumph haven't just added a fairing. Listen to that. They haven't just added a fairing to the 660 Trident. No. They've done quite a lot of work on the engine on this bike, because I think the standard Trident has about 70 horsepower, something like that. Well, this puts out 95. I think it's about 80 actually, the standard Trident. So they've increased the power of this quite significantly. And not only have they increased the top end power, but they've brought the torque in a little bit earlier as well. I think from 3,000 revs you get like 60% of the torque or something like that, and 15 extra horsepower. So it's got a bigger airbox, different engine internals, different exhaust system. So they've definitely brought the performance, and they've increased the red line from 10,000 RPM to 12,500 RPM. So you've got a bit of revs on this, and as we know, triple engines are great because they bring good torque and they bring good top end. So I always say it's a great engine configuration, a triple. And this is the first ride, so I've really only just stepped on this. But engine performance, it's nice. It gives a good tone, good noise. So the engine, I think, is absolutely superb on this bike. So first impression, the engine is very nice. What I'm noticing is the suspension. It's quite soft and friendly, it's not too harsh, and it's the same with the riding position. As I said at the beginning on the intro, this isn't a hard track focused weapon. This is a friendly sports bike, that new generation of friendly middleweight sports bikes, like the Suzuki 8R. I'd like to say the Yamaha R7, but the riding position on that one that's a bit more track, I'll say focused, but it's got more track potential than this, because I can tell even though it changes direction quickly, it's reasonably light. The suspension is quite sort of soft and friendly on this. When I get on the bike, being a 20 stone fatty, I can see it drops by sort of 15 mil, 20 mil as soon as I get on it.
so it's quite a soft setup. And you know, that's not helped, I suppose, if you want to go sporty, because the front forks, even though they're really nice upside down, show a big piston units, they're not adjustable at all up front, and you just have preload adjustment on the rear. Again, you know, that's pretty normal for this sort of price point of these bikes. I think the Suzuki 8R is the same, but this is definitely more of a softer road friendly setup. Again, that's no bad thing, is it? Sounds racy as hell, doesn't it? I do love a triple for that. So let's attack a few twisties on it and see how it feels. I mean, the suspension's okay, it's a little bit soft as I say, but it changes direction quite nicely. I say you've got the Michelin Power 6 tyres on. I think they're OEM, I don't think they're real Power 6s. Bit of decent mid-range, the brakes feel quite nice, and again the brakes are quite soft. You do have to give the lever a bit of a tug, but you know, they feel okay. Oh, white van man. Bloody white van man. That's since I rode with TMF, I'm getting all the white vans now. It revs, it doesn't pull that strong towards the top. Unfortunately, standard, there's no quick shifter blipper either, so your manual shifting, it's an option, but I think this bike costs 8,600, I think, so it puts it at a really competitive price point, slightly undercutting the Suzuki. But on this, the Suzuki comes with a quick shifter blipper as standard. By the time you've added it to this, I think it pushes the price just a little bit above the Suzuki. It's got a bit, it performs quite well with 95 horsepower. I mean, really, I know we always say it, but to have fun on the road, you don't need any more than 95 horsepower. That size engine brings a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. You know, you're up through the box, you're thrashing it, and I think this engine is a perfect example of that. You can give this the revs, and it's got power up the top. So I think a triple really works with this sort of riding and brings the fun factor. So yeah, that's nice, I like that. The riding position is also very comfortable, supremely comfortable. I'm quite upright, my feet are sort of a very reasonable height, not uncomfortable, but the foot pegs are back a little bit, so you do feel quite sporty from a leg angle, even though there's no acute angles to hurt your knees, but the pegs are back, so it's got a bit of a sporty feel. The clip-ons are above the yoke, so I'm quite upright, but I've got a little bit of weight on my wrist, so there's not too much weight over the front, I don't think, but it's very nice. The seat is wide, and I'm not locked in on this, and it's very wide, so my arse is fully supported, so I think it's going to be quite comfortable on a longer run. And there seems to be a decent amount of padding in the seat, so you can see Triumph haven't approached this like the old 675 Daytona. This is a very different motorcycle. This is about street comfort. Of course, it's A2 compliant as well. You can buy an A2 version, so it's that sort of first big bike, new to biking type machine, you know, and you could do some reasonable miles on this. This position is really quite nice, and I'm 6'2", 20 stone, as regular viewers will know. This is an £8,500 bike, so you've got no cruise control, you know, you've got none of those toys. There's no IMU, there's quite a rudimentary traction and ABS system, you know, it's not lean sensitive, but again, that brings just how they've managed to do this bike for the price they're doing it. So it's lacking a few options on the tech side, but it's all stuff. I mean, cruise control's always nice, isn't it? But you don't feel like you really need it because you're at quite a relaxed riding position anyway. The ride through the suspension, as I say, is plush, it's nice, it's just gliding over all the imperfections. Again, you're losing a little bit. Let's try a bit of a pull. That's fourth gear. It's got a decent amount of mid-range, but with that suspension I'm losing sort of the feel through the tarmac. So yeah, this isn't like the old Daytona, it really isn't. It's not meant to be, but I think it gives quite a good balance. It's actually slightly better than I thought it would be after watching some of the launch reports of this bike. I thought it might be really soft, really squidgy. I mean, when you go on the brakes, you know, there's fork dive. there seems to be a decent amount of travel. You know, I'm not bottoming out the suspension. It's not a harsh ride, and I can feel a little bit of the texture of the tarmac, but you know, I'm not getting masses of feedback. The blipper and quick shifter would be nice just so you could give it a bit of that, but there's enough here, I think, that you can chuck it around. And yeah, it's a bit wallowy. I've gone a little bit wide there. The front maybe runs a little bit wider than you'd like. Lacks a little bit of precision through the front end, perhaps, but you can still throw it around, don't get me wrong, and you can still have a lot of fun on it. And that engine, I think, just bring the tone of that engine, the feel of that engine. It sounds very, very racy, and it actually encourages this sort of behaviour. There's a big old bump here in the road. Here it is. Yeah, it's dealt with that lovely. I'd have my testicles smashed if I tried that on my Hornet. Yeah, it's nice. There's nothing wrong with a nice plush setup, is there? I think if you had the option to bring a bit of adjustability to the front end, just so you could wind in a bit of compression and rebound damping, if you do want to ride it a little bit sportier, I think that would be great. But again, it's not unusual for this price point. Wow, that's quite a little sporty start to the review, isn't it? For a bike which isn't claiming to be overly sporty. Well, or is it? It wears the Daytona badge, so it does need to have some performance, doesn't it? It's no good wearing the Daytona badge if you're going to be a great big lardy, wallowy thing in the twisties. But I think it does have the performance there. Let's take it up the hill climb to give it a bit more of a push. We've got a great test route. I can test every aspect of this on my little test route. I like the tank. It's a very thin machine. It does feel like it wants to run wide a little bit. Mid-range, it's just uphill, give it a pull, bit of rear brake just to settle things down without unsettling the bike. I think it is a bike you're going to have to use a bit of rear brake on, just to, if you need to club a bit of speed in the corner. If you go for the front brake, because of the softness of the suspension, it's going to dive. Yeah, you could give it a good razzing. And with that engine, it's a lot of fun. And then when you want to slow it all down and relax, you can. I love how thin the bike is. It's really thin between your legs, which gives it, again, that sort of sporty edge. Makes it feel a bit like a twin. The width of it feels a bit like a twin. So that's nice, I like that. And the tank's quite nicely shaped and you can really grip it quite well. And there's plenty of room here. Like I say, I'm 6'2". I've got plenty of room. I do not feel cramped on this bike at all. I'll be quite happy to take this on a longer run. Let's have a stop and a little bit of a closer look at this bike. So the overall silhouette of this bike, I think this looks really, really good. I do think Triumph have done an amazing job on the styling of this bike. And these new sort of breed of slightly softer middleweight sports bikes, I think out of all the ones which are out, I actually think this one looks the best. I think I think Triumph have really nailed the styling on this. I love the belly pan. I love the way it all sort of integrates into that underslung exhaust. I really like what they've done with the headlights. I think it looks really mean, sort of very sports bikey. I do like two lights. I'm not quite so keen on this single headlight design on bikes these days. I think this looks classy. I do think this looks classy. So let's have a little bit of a closer look at the details. So starting up front, we've got some Triumph badged calipers here. These are 4-pot calipers. They look a bit like Nissans, but I'm not sure what they are. They're badged up as Triumph calipers anyway. And you've got the Showa sort of big piston forks. So, you know, a reasonable, decent setup up the front. You know, as I say, the forks unfortunately are not adjustable in any way, but that's not unusual. That's not unusual for this price point. The headlight sort of coming down to those sort of sleek lines of the fairing, little infills. One thing's quite interesting, this bike has a tubular frame, but they've actually put like a plastic cover to make it look like it's got sort of a beam aluminium frame, but it hasn't. There is that breathed on 660 engine. So this is up about 15 horsepower of what you'll find in the Trident. So this has had a little bit of breathing on it. 95 horsepower, just shy of 95 horsepower.
and I think around 80 Newton meters of torque, and it's a triple, isn't it? They're good for everything, triples, but the overall finish of the engine, the covers, with the little, you know, shiny bolts, yeah, it looks quite premium. Rear sets, they're okay, you know, they're all right. Aluminium footrest here. The rear brake lever looks a little bit sort of stamped, as if it's stamped out, but it's fine. You know, everything for the price of the bike, all this sort of stuff looks good. The clip-ons are above the yokes, and that's of course what gives that sort of very comfortable sports bike riding position. All the switch gear actually looks, you know, it's all reasonable quality. I'd say better than a lot of the other bikes at this price point. You know, very simple, easy to use. The dashboard is quite simple on this bike. You've got a mixture of a small TFT section and an LCD section at the top. Yeah, I think it's the same as the one on the Trident. I'd prefer a full sort of TFT or even an analog clocks, to be honest, but it's got all the information there. But you know, again, there's no frills really with that dashboard. The tank, I think, is a plastic cover here, and you've got several pieces to it. You've got like a central part and then two outer parts here. Yeah, they are covers. That is not a metal tank. But again, everything looks really nice with the Triumph badging. This is the Carnival red colour, so this I think is an extra £100 for this colour, but it's a real sort of premium colour. I do like this Carnival red. Yeah, it may be a little bit old man, a little bit burgundy, a little bit Ron Burgundy, but I like it. I think it looks nice. It definitely has a premium sort of feel to it, this Carnival red colour.
But here we go, 5th gear, 40 miles an hour-ish, 3.8, full power. I'm slightly downhill, so I'm giving it a bit of advantage, but it's got a good bit of drive there. That's a nice bit of drive for a 60cc engine with a 20-stone fatty on. You can't complain at that. The mirrors are really good because sports bike mirrors, buzzer there. Sports bike mirrors are fantastic because they're out from the fairing, so they're nice and wide. There's no buzzing of the wing mirrors. It's quite a smooth bike. There's a little bit of something I can feel through the bars, but again, not intrusive. Yeah, very nice. Vibes are not a problem on this. Gearbox is quite a nice change. It feels quite a premium feeling gearbox. It's not notchy. Goes into gear nice and easy. It's even quite easy to find neutral as well. This is actually very, very nice. This is better than I thought it was going to be. For a bit of fun, let's give it a little bit of a 0 to 60 test. Gets right. Wow, that's up to speed in no time. Absolutely no time. By the time I was coming to the end of second gear, I was already hitting 60. That's pretty quick. It's quite a long bike. I think the wheelbase is quite long, so it's got that sort of long and stable feel to it. It's 201 kilos, so you know it's not the light. That's fully fueled. That's not the lightest bike in the world, and it's got a 14-litre tank. But it's definitely got sort of a bit of an extended swinging arm, I'd say, and it feels a bit longer, so it's a bit lazier to change direction, I suppose. And I guess the fact that you've not got masses of weight over the front ends, I think that's why the front perhaps feels a tiny little bit lazy, and you have to give it a bit of counter steering effort to change direction. Alright, let's chuck it down the hill climb. Let's see how the front end feels when you're going downhill. So everything, a little bit front, but more rear than front, because I think it will upset the front end if you give it too much on the front brake. So we rely on the rear. The rear feels quite nice. Look round. Yeah, changes direction okay there. It inspires, actually, it inspires quite a lot of confidence to push this on. I mean, I have watched some other reviews of this bike, and this is exceeding what my expectations were, if I'm absolutely honest. This is very nice. This is very good. This is definitely, if you're interested in one of these sort of middleweight sports bikes, these softer bikes, yeah, that's actually very good. That's exceeded what I thought it was going to be like. I will shut up for a good 30 seconds here and just let you listen to this thing. So hang on. you go, I can't shut up for longer than that. When Triumph announced there's a new Daytona, everyone's like, yee, excitement, you know, finally Triumph have brought the Daytona back. This isn't the Daytona that we all know and love. It isn't. It's, you know, this is how these sort of latest generation bikes are now, isn't it? It's gone are the super sport middleweights for now. I mean, the CBR 600's back, isn't it? And hopefully Triumph will consider bringing back the full-on super sport 765 would be brilliant, wouldn't it? But this isn't that bike. It isn't that bike. What this is a nice, revvy, exciting sounding, comfortable middleweight sports tourer for the new generation of riders. And I think Triumph have hit the brief. I was expecting the front end to be really soft, and you know, and you try and push on, it doesn't excite you when you push it. You just feel like you're going to run off the road. That's what I thought. It's not like that. It's not like that. You can have fun on this. It's not that bike I was expecting at all, and I'm gutted that I haven't spent more time with this actually. But there we go, a bit of a... You can pull the front up over the crests if you get it in the right gear. It's a really, really, really fun engine, this. I love this engine. So then, the Daytona 660, not the fire-breathing superbike the old 955 was, not the razor-sharp race weapon the 675 was, but something entirely different. It's a Daytona that's designed for the real world, a triple that's smooth, punchy, and just about perfect for fast road riding. The ergonomics won't snap your wrists in half, the electronics are subtle rather than suffocating, and for under 10 grand it's, dare I say, almost sensible. Of course, if you're expecting a Moto 2 refugee that will destroy superbikes at the track, you'll be disappointed. But that's not the point. The 660 is about everyday fun. Enough performance to thrill without needing a private racetrack or a chiropractor on speed dial. While big superbikes shout and scream, the Daytona just quietly gets on with the job of being one of the best all-round sports bikes you can actually live with. And if that's not worth the Daytona name, I don't know what is.